to advise any students coming out of college who are going to go into a classroom, I would first say thank you, and then just offer them this guidance to always trust that the process, even when it doesn't look like it's going to work, the process will work. You just have to engage in what it is you are committing to do. And don't be afraid to reach out for the support that you need, because I think that so many of our young educators fall by the wayside because they don't get the support that they need or that they want or that they feel they deserve, and they do. They don't know what to ask for, and they don't know how to ask for certain things because this is brand spanking new for them. So I would encourage that new college graduate to find a school that you are just the right fit for. Build relationships with your team, with your administrators, and rely on those people to help you get through those pivotal points that can become discouraging because you are kind of unsure of what the next thing needs to be. But just to hang in there and trust that the process works if you really engage in and with that process.
And just to add to what Dr. Taylor said, I definitely commend any new teacher for following your passion and coming into a wonderful profession. And we welcome all educators. The advice that I would give, or the guidance, would definitely be to make sure that you're not afraid to speak up, and make sure that you're not afraid for your voice to be heard. A lot of times it's really easy to sit in meetings or sit with veteran teachers or educators and feel like they've been doing this forever. They have all of the answers. And a lot of times we do have a lot of the answers, but what we don't have are that fresh set of eyes or that new innovation. And a lot of new teachers have so many new things to offer that we're not even familiar with, but sometimes they are afraid to speak up because they feel like, oh, well, I haven't been doing this long enough, or they don't feel validated. So don't be afraid to speak up. Share your ideas. We need them. We have been doing things for a very long time in education, and we know a lot of the nuances, but your ideas may be something that could solve new problems that we're experiencing, or even old problems. So your voice is just as valuable as anyone else's that's been there for a long time. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and ideas.
I think that's so powerful because you can bring that new energy that might be just what the school needs to get to that next level.
Great Saturday, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the REALL Academy. This morning, we know that you are probably already fired up from Principal Hurt's message this morning. We are recording early because we have something this afternoon. I am actually doing a scholarship banquet this afternoon, and Sheka's going to go with me. So we decided we were going to record, and we'll have to catch Principal Hurt on the catch up. But we know that he was absolutely incredible because he always is. So again, thank you for joining us this morning on the REALL Academy. And our REALL acronym, of course, stands for respect, accountability, excellence, and literacy and leadership. This is the framework that we created for our schools to navigate our way through state-sanctioned school improvement. But the framework is also a tool that can be used to avoid falling into that snare of state-sanctioned school improvement. it's that roadmap that is needed that we didn't have. So what we decided to do was create our own. These were the things that Sheka and I put into place when we were in improvement to move our schools through that school improvement process. Her school in a single year improved 2 report card grade levels, and mine improved 3 report card grade levels. And over the course of the time that we were in improvement, we are proud to say that the schools actually exited school improvement. So the framework is something that works. So we are here because we believe in paying it forward. Now, if you don't know us and aren't familiar with us as leaders, we are your problem solving leaders, and we try to bring problems that require real solutions. And that's what we do. We bring together the community, we bring together parents, leaders, teachers, so that everyone has a voice in solving these problems that are plaguing us right now in our education system. And if you aren't familiar with us personally, Sheka is actually the director of secondary interventions for our school district, and she's the avid district director. She's also an avid staff developer, and I am currently the very proud principal of Great Falls Elementary School. We have both contributed as best-selling authors and in the Women Who Lead series, and we are co-founders of Create and Educate, our LLC company, where we provide professional development, coaching, and training to educators and organizations. So we are thrilled to have you with us this morning and excited to get started.
Definitely. Thank you, Tammy, for the introduction. And for those of you that are new to the Real Academy, if you look on top of our graphic here, you can see the actual resilience framework where we have coined this Create and Educate's 5 super strengths. And we definitely believe that if you incorporate the principles of the resilience framework into your school, it will improve, it will remain resilient, as our schools have, even after we have exited that state sanctioned school improvement process. So today, as you saw from the graphic, or if you saw it, we're going to be talking about end of the year meetings. And having end of the year meetings definitely fits onto that door, number one, where we say that's the foundation of everything at your school through the framework, because it starts with respect. So with end of the year meetings, you're showing your staff that you respect their opinions, that you respect the fact that everything is not perfect, and that we're all professionals working together, and that we all need to reflect and determine what went well, what didn't go well, and how we're going to improve, and use this time to set goals and move forward for the next year. As we were preparing for today, we read something from Education Week that talked about one of the number one complaints that teachers have is that their voices are not included. And a study showed that 20% of 6,000 teachers across several states that were polled felt like they had no voice in their own professional learning. So not having a voice can be very frustrating to teachers, and make them feel demeaned and not feel like they're professionals. So we wanted to make sure that we touched on end of the year meetings, because this is something we've incorporated in our practices and believe that they are very important.
Definitely. As Sheka said, like the most essential aspect, I think, of the end of the year meetings or end of the year conferences, exit conferences, whatever you call yours. I think that the most impactful part of that is exactly what she said. Like what we give time to is perceived as what we value.
Mm-hmm.
So when you give staff the opportunity to share and reflect, then they understand that you value what they have to say. And that's not just good for closing out, but that's also good for planning for the opening. So I think that setting that time aside, and it takes sacrifice, because at the end of the year, everybody is in shutdown mode, and it seems like we are moving 1,000 miles a minute, because there's this program and that program and this celebration and that celebration. But we have to carve out the time to have those meetings that allow, again, for staff to understand and know how much we appreciate them and value what they have to say. And just a tip, do not try to wing that. Like, you need to prepare a schedule for who comes when, so that there's a schedule that is expected to be followed. Because if it's just on a drop-in basis, some people are going to drop in. You're going to get your folks who come and do everything that you ask them to do all the time. But for those people who are working to the last minute, or for those people, something might come up, anything can happen, and you are bound to miss someone if you don't truly schedule those times for when you really want to sit down and have those conversations. And they don't have to be long.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And it's a great way to also build better relationships with your staff, because now in a one-on-one setting, the staff can be vulnerable. You could also, show vulnerability in some things, and people respect that. So it's a great relationship builder. And as Tammy stated, it's not just something that you just go off and say, oh, we're going to do end of the year meetings. You really have to reflect yourself first on the year, and then devise a tool that you're going to use to have people to reflect, and also frame the entire conversation and the process of what you're doing. Tammy, did you want to talk about the tool that you use?
Sure. And just before I share kind of what we use, um, just also going into that meeting with an open mind, and not being offended when because you're asking for feedback. So
Right.
don't go in there and get angry with them when they say that something that you have done all year they thought was absolutely ridiculous. Hear them and think about, if this isn't making any impact for the staff, is this something that is worth us doing? So it's also a reflection tool for you. But one of the things that we saw when we were doing the research to get ready for today was the article suggested that you have to give them an opportunity to think about things before. They don't just come in and wing the conversation. What you do is you give them something to kind of guide their thinking, so that they know along the lines of what you're going to be discussing. Again, so that the meetings are intentional and purposeful. So what I do is I give out maybe a week, 2 weeks before I'm starting the actual meetings, a reflection tool. And on the tool, I ask a series of things, and there are reflection questions for them, and there are questions for them to reflect on for me. And I ask them questions like, what went well? What is something that we can celebrate from the year? If there was something we could do over differently, what would that look like? If there is anything that you think we should change or eliminate for the next school year. And when Sheka and I were talking about it, I shared with her that is a question that some people might shy away from, but I don't think you should, because if they say something, so we think we should do away with PLCs. Well, that's not an option. So that isn't something we can do away with, and you can explain then why that's the case. I don't think we should have data meetings. Well, those are the kinds of things that you explain the rationale for why that happens, and why you have to have those structures and protocols in place to continue to stay out of improvement. But if they come up with something, and I shared this example, I used to have my lesson plans due before teachers went home on Friday. for no reason. I just thought that was my practice as a teacher. So I thought that was a good idea. At the end of that first year, a teacher said if she could change something for the next year, what she would change is instead of having lesson plans due on Friday, because she works on her lesson plans over the weekend, she would prefer they be due on Monday. So, I thought about it and I thought, the difference in Friday and Monday is the weekend. So if that helps people to feel more relaxed and comfortable about getting lesson plans in, let's move to Monday. And so we did. And that tool will help you with processing through the conversation. And again, do not take exception with what they're saying. And this isn't the time to debate them. Now, if there is something that you cannot change, I think you go on and just level set that there. But this isn't the time they say, oh, I really didn't think that the time that we got for related arts was sufficient for what had to happen. This isn't the time for you to go and get the law off the shelf and tell them, okay, well, this is why we do this amount of related arts, because you don't have time for that. These are quick meetings. Now, this is what I would say. Guys, if this is something that you would like for us to talk about, I do have the DMP so that I can show you what we do when we are creating schedules. And I'll show you what the guidelines are. And listen, we are always looking for people for the schedule team. If you want to come and help us this summer when we start working on the master schedule, please join us. And that takes care of that. It's not about the debating of what has happened over the course of the year, but the reflection and the opportunity to get ideas for planning for the coming school year.
Definitely, Tammy. And I, similar to you, when I was at the building level, that I used to have lesson plans due on Friday too. And I switched mine as well because teachers wanted to have that time over the weekend, and that made sense. So we changed it. So again, just making sure that you're allowing that time to hear other voices, and it's not just your teachers that you should include, your office staff, other staff members in the building also should be included because they are your stakeholders in the building and they know how things go and should have gone, and definitely have some great things to contribute to those conversations as well and that reflection process.
And I'm going to tell you, one of the best people to talk with during those exit meetings is your custodian, because they could tell you some things that you don't know. You think you know, but they could
Right.
tell you things that you don't have any idea are happening that need to be revamped for the next year. And one other thing that is just a suggestion. I know that some people sometimes think that team meetings help us to carve out more time, like we can knock it out faster if we go in as teams. But I caution you against that because you don't always get the most honest feedback when you are meeting as a team. And I'm not saying that it's every time, but some teams, like sometimes somebody on the team is the problem. And what they wish they could change is teams. So you really want to allow that one-on-one time, as Sheka said before, to really hear what your staff members have to say so that, again, moving forward, we can plan effectively and very intentionally for the coming school year.
And what are your thoughts, Tammy? Like, I was in my building for 19 years, so I really knew my staff really well. We had, good relationships in place and we talked regularly. So, like my last year, some people said, well, Dr. Houston, I'm gonna fill out the form, but do I have to come meet? I really don't want to, I really don't need to meet about anything. We've talked about everything. So I would give them the option to just turn in the form if you don't feel like you need to come and sit and have a formal meeting. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. You've reflected, so I have your thoughts and anything that you think. So I was fine with that. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. And I think that sometimes the people who, you hear, if you have that type relationship with
Mm-hmm.
your staff, you hear the entire year how
Right.
insane you thought something was. But sometimes for those people who are newly joining the team, or um, hadn't quite figured me out yet, like
Mm-hmm.
I do like to sit down and talk with them so that they can see me um, as someone who cares about what they have to say. But I
Right.
do, every year they get the option of, if you want to complete the form and just submit it, then I
Mm-hmm.
take that information from the form. And that's interesting too, because um, I last year gave the option of the form to everybody. I didn't force it because we were late.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is, I think that moving forward, anybody who's leaving, I do want to have an actual conversation with them, because one of the teachers who was moving to a different school, there were a lot of questions that to me was just kind of left unresolved because she wasn't returning. And so I
Okay.
think that I'm going to make it a practice that the only people who have to do it
Mm-hmm.
are those people who are moving or leaving our school for whatever reason, retiring, or whatever they're
Yeah.
doing.
And that
So,
makes sense.
mhm,
And you do want to have that exit conference anyway to make sure that there's, definitely nothing that they felt like, was something that could have been improved and would have even made them more likely to stay. So those conversations are
definitely.
important. And lastly, before we close, um, one of the things that I would also go over in those meetings was we would look at attendance of the teacher and referrals. So, if they opted out and were fine, I would say, hey, we're good. But of course, if they were opting out and I needed to have a conversation, then we would still, have that conversation. So, thank you all for tuning in. We hope that this was helpful for you, and we hope that you all are getting ready to plan those end of the year meetings. I'm going to put up a few things. This is our, let me take the banner down, professional development guide that you can get off of our website. We provide professional development for schools as well as coaching for leaders. So if you are interested in that, please go to our website and fill out the form, and you can see the offerings that we have. On the first Tuesdays of each month, we host the collaborative where we're interviewing usually an educator or a parent, but we bring in all stakeholders together to solve problems in education. The upcoming June episode will be our summer reading and math episode. On the 24th of this week, I think that's Wednesday, we'll be having our Connecting Educators to Great Resources show, talking to people about how to get your products into schools. And if you've missed any episode of the collaborative or would like to use it, or the Real Academy, and would like to use it for training for your teachers, you can visit our YouTube channel to get any of the recordings. The page is the collaborative, so you can subscribe there. Our weight loss program, or the group that we have, C&E's Fit Minds and Fit Bodies, offers a lot of motivation and accountability. These are some of our group members that are doing a phenomenal job. And if you have not registered for the annual Black Educators Rock Conference that's going to be in Jacksonville, Florida this year, please use this QR code to register. Tammy and I will be presenting on revolutionizing school leadership and aligning the work. So we are very excited about that. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure that you tune in to Principal Kafele next. We are a part of the Fantastic Four, and make sure you join Josh and Dean on Sunday at 7:30. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your Saturday.
Happy Saturday, guys.